Hello and welcome to Uncommon Law, my podcast about true stories from my life experience of over 50 years as a lawyer and trial judge. This is a look at the law from the inside out, stuff they don't teach in law school. This is Judge Rudy Greco, retired justice of the New York State Supreme Court. Boxing is a brutal sport, but there's another side to it. It has also been called the sweet science by A.J. Liebling, and somebody else once called it show business with blood. The author Joyce Carol Oates wrote, "Boxing is not like other sports. Other sports say they're like life. Boxing is not like life. Boxing is life." And she was alluding to the fact of the danger, the unpredictability, the unfairness, the injustice, etc., etc., etc. And she was right. Fans have seen many epic fights in the ring. Few fans know about the bloody battles in boxing that are fought outside the ring. And that's what this story is all about. Barry McGuigan, at the peak of his popularity, was the best thing in Ireland since soda bread. A silver medalist at the Moscow Olympics, he went on as a professional boxer to a world championship. He was Ireland's first world champion in decades. He outfought a legendary 130-pound champion, Eusebio Pedroza of Panama, who was a consummate gentleman and a fantastic pro, a legendary pro, who himself was later elected to Panama's national legislature. Days before the title fight, Barry was interviewed by Kevin Wogan on BBC's version of The Tonight Show. That show was one of the highest rated ever in the history of the BBC. The young challenger, Barry, was a Catholic with a Protestant wife. His support was universal. He was celebrated by both factions in the ancient partisan, religious, and political controversy that enveloped Ireland. Wogan asked if Barry had any parting words for his legions of fans on the eve of the big match. The response was sincere and brilliant. "Yes," Barry said, "to all my fans I say, leave the fighting to McGuigan." It became the title of his biography, authored by Oscar-winning film director Jim Sheridan, whose work includes My Left Foot and The Boxer, among many other excellent films. Barry came out of Clones, a town in a poor corner of County Monaghan on the border with Northern Ireland. He was just what the doctor ordered. The handsome young athlete, with his winning smile and sharp sense of humor, was a ray of sunshine in a place where clouds of conflict were a daily reality for 100 years or more. He was the only thing they could share joyfully in that godforsaken, depressed hotbed of tension, treason, and terrorism. Barry was married to a beautiful hairstylist, Sandy. Their firstborn son went to a non-denominational school. Both their families lived in Clones. Barry's mom, Katie, ran a small supermarket where, as a growing boy, Barry did a lot of the heavy lifting, which helped him as a professional boxer. Sandy's parents owned and ran a small hotel on the Diamond, the town square of Clones. All the McGuigan kids helped out at the store. Paddy McGuigan, Barry's father, the patriarch of this bustling brood, was one of a kind. He was a living leprechaun. Paddy was a singer by profession and a very good one at that. It was he who first put Clones on the map when, representing Ireland, he placed second in the Eurovision Song Contest. Paddy was a wee small fellow, as they say in Ireland, but a big personality. He sang in a smooth, mellow baritone. He sounded like a Western cowboy. Well-traveled, Paddy was a poor fit for his provincial surroundings. He had little patience for neighbors with small, narrow minds. It was he who first purchased video cassettes of famous American boxing champions, which young Barry devoured while growing up. That Barry fought and moved in the ring like an American was no accident. Most Irish fighters were of the upright, stiff variety. Barry was not one of them. Paddy was boyishly handsome to the day he died of a rare bone disease at age 52. He was so full of devilment, as they say in Ireland, that he often spoke about the illness that was shrinking him and killing him at the same time in humorous terms. Paddy lusted for life, laughter, and crack, which is Gaelic for a good time. He had a naughty glint in his eye and the gift of blarney. Once, on the stage at Caesar's Palace, next to Bertha Hagler, the mother of the famous Marvin Hagler, Paddy blurted out for the whole audience to know. He said, "You know, Mrs. Hagler," who was quite handsome, I might add. He said, "You're the mother of the black middleweight champion, and I'm the father of the white featherweight champion. If we got together, we could produce the tan welterweight champion." And he brought the house down. And Bertha took it in great stride. She was rolling with laughter herself. Paddy was a sweet man, but he had a lion's heart. If Paddy was volatile, Katie, his wife, was a rock. She was the ice to his fire. She ran the store and raised the 7 kids and Patty with Spartan stoicism. She was born with both feet planted firmly on the ground. Barry inherited the best qualities of each of his parents. He had his dad's flair and mom's determination and work ethic. Their gifts to him would stand him in good stead on the road to success. He became a national idol and a celebrity far beyond the borders of Ireland and the boxing world. In his homeland, he was bigger than Sugar Ray Leonard and Michael Jackson combined. Until he lost his title in the searing heat of the desert summer sun of Las Vegas, he could do no wrong. In the immediate aftermath of Barry's valiant but ill-fated title defense against Stevie Cruz, a young Chicano plumber from San Antonio, Texas, Patty stopped in New York on his way back to Clonis from Las Vegas. Patty stayed in my apartment for 2 days. He arrived drunk and angry. He left angry. The object of his fury was Barney Eastwood, Barry's manager, who Patty blamed for the loss of Barry's title and near loss of his life. Right after the fight, Barry was taken to Valley Hospital, nearly dead from heat exhaustion and dehydration. In Ireland, 80 degrees is unbearably hot. In New York City, it's illegal to use a horse-drawn wagon when it's hotter than 90 degrees. In Las Vegas, Barry fought in a ring where the temperature exceeded 115 degrees in the hot Vegas sun and under the searing television lights. According to Patty, a number of factors led to Barry's defeat. Barry was not feeling well in training. He was feverish and he had hurt his hand badly. His original opponent, an Argentinian, bailed out of the match when Stevie Cruz was substituted in as Barry's challenger. Roberto Duran, who was training with Barry, told him to go home and cancel the fight. Things were not right and not worth the risk. Barney Eastwood insisted that Barry should fight no matter what because it would supposedly ruin Barry in the eyes of American network television people if he went home. He told Barry, "Son, your name will be mud if you go home. Don't do it." Well, the original opponent had failed an eye exam when Teddy Brenner, the matchmaker for Bob Arum, the promoter, brought in Stevie Cruz as an opponent. Boxing people knew Brenner, a gambling man, was notorious for matching a sleeper with a favorite to set up a private betting coup. Styles make fights. One-loss records are not accurate barometers of boxing ability. Some opponents with the right style could be a solid bet to pull an upset. Cruz was unknown to most people in boxing, including Eastwood, but not to Brenner. World boxing titles are like franchises. They're financially valuable. Nobody wants to lose a valuable asset. Boxing is a business, and like all the other businesses, the aim is to make the most amount of money with the least amount of risk. Barry, on short notice, was unable to assess the actual risk of fighting Cruz, who, by the way, as a native Texan, was acclimated to the desert heat. To prompt a hesitant Barry, Barney made an unprecedented move. He promised Barry if he lost his title, he would pay him an indemnity of $250,000 backed by an IOU that he gave Barry. Uh-oh. Throughout Barry's rise, Barney took great pains to demonstrate his paternal interest in Barry's welfare. Barney even publicly waived his manager's fee for all of Barry's preliminary bouts. According to Barney, he was doing this for Barry, Ireland, and boxing. What could be wrong? Well, like an iceberg, the biggest part of this story was below the surface. It would help if you knew something more about Barney Eastwood. He was a self-made man from the hard streets of Belfast, Northern Ireland. He had nearly 100 betting shops. He was a bookmaker on a grand scale and one of the wealthiest men in the country. He bought a castle where he lived and did everything he could to raise his social standing. He was highly conscious of what others thought of him. He won some acceptance in high circles. Not bad for a guy whose business partner, British boxing promoter Mickey Duff, said, "Barney will do whatever it takes. This is a guy who is not above climbing a racetrack fence at 3 a.m. in the night before a big race with a hypodermic needle in hand to ensure the next day's race result. This guy, new to boxing, showed me a lifer, new ways to make money that I'd never before imagined." So I guess Barney did have a practical side, so to speak. Not unexpectedly, Barney ruled his family like a dictator. All his children worked for Dad and did exactly what they were told. Barry was his favorite so-called son. I always thought Barney saw something of himself in Barry. They both fought their way to the top. To Barney, the young fighter was an acquisition, just like a racehorse or a painting that he owned. Neither Barney's sons nor his possessions talked back to him or told him what to do. Nobody did. Just after Barry gained the title, someone released a comedy record spoofing the cozy relationship between manager and boxer. In a voice mimicking Barry, the singer showed profuse gratitude to the manager. The song's title echoed its theme, "Thank you, Mr. Eastwood." It was a giant hit. All went well until the horror of Las Vegas. The outcome was well known, but as usual, the best fights in boxing are outside the ring where real injuries are inflicted. Patty was wild about certain things that didn't happen. Nobody negotiated about the time of day when the fight was scheduled. The promotion was called the Triple Hitter because three title fights involving Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran, and Barry McGuigan were on the card as co-main events. Barry's bout was the earliest of the three, set for 5 p.m., the hottest time of the day. Later fights took place when the sun went down. Barry was given little or no hydration during the fight. You could see this in the films. No one cooled him down with ice towels between rounds. No one but Barney fed him strategy in his corner. Barney told Barry the opposite of what he should have been doing from the corner. Barney was totally unqualified as a ring tactician. Afterwards, exhausted, Barry was rushed to the hospital to fight for his life. Barney never bothered to show up there. To make matters worse, Patty was told that a substantial six-figure bet was placed on Stevie Cruz mere minutes before the fight. Okay, there are plenty of gamblers in Las Vegas, including Messrs. Eastwood and Brenner. The story proved true, but the bettor was never identified. The worst blow came a few days after the fight. Promoter Bob Arum invited Barry to stay on a few days at Caesar's Palace as his guest. Ostensibly, this was a kind gesture by Arum in gratitude for Barry's brave effort, which made the promotion noteworthy as an entertainment value. Arum used the invitation as a show of concern for Barry's physical and mental well-being and a chance for some tea and sympathy. What a guy. Like his nemesis and arch-rival Don King, Arum does nothing for nothing. Their aims are identical, as are the results. Only their approaches differ. King is a loud, flamboyant lion. Arum is a quiet, subtle snake. King got his degree doing time in prison for manslaughter, while Arum went to Harvard and became a federal prosecutor. Of the two, I much prefer King, whose front is more transparent. Both want to exploit fighters for enormous profit. They want to eat their lunch and yours. Arum and King are the most dangerous men in boxing. In countless confrontations with the toughest men in the ring, they are undefeated. The real purpose for keeping Barry in Las Vegas was to give Arum a chance to poach Barry's lucrative promotional rights from Eastwood. Yes, Barney was Barry's promoter and made a handsome profit from Barry's career from the get-go. As an Olympic silver medalist, Barry was nationally famous and popular before his very first pro fight. Barney's waiving a managerial share of Barry's early purses was a hollow gesture. Barry's preliminary purses were minimal anyway, and Barney, as his promoter, was making all the profits. Barney was a good promoter, but Barry was a great draw. He put asses in the seats, as we say in boxing. In typical fashion, no punches were pulled, and no holds were barred, and no ethical standards were upheld by Arum. Just go ahead and sign up the fresh meat. Arum knew that he could exploit the post-fight dissension that often follows a bitter defeat. He also well knew that Barry McGuigan, who was white, handsome, personable, articulate, talented, and tough, could easily earn millions more in boxing. Barry was a warrior who was noble in defeat. He got carried out in that fight on his shield. Boxers hate to lose, and they'll dwell on the loss. Promoters know, however, that the way you lose was critical, not the loss itself. A brave fighter who gave his all actually rises in his market value. Ali, after losing to Frazier, Leonard, after losing to Duran, were both biggest box office draws afterwards. Brave Barry's marquee value was greater than ever. If Barry didn't realize that, all the better for Arum, who did. To sign up Barry to a promotional contract, Arum would stop at nothing. Besides, King was lurking everywhere in the background. Feigning innocence, Arum casually mentioned to Barry the fact that he, Arum, had paid Barney Eastwood a $1 million co-promotional fee for delivering Barry to defend his title as part of Arum's show. This was news to Barry, who'd never been told about this or any other promotional money earned by Barney. Arum, of course, had no qualms about betraying the confidence of his business partner, the fatherly Mr. Eastwood. Boxers have a tremendous degree of athletic intelligence and usually an equal degree of commercial ignorance. One needs a quick intellect to box successfully. Your mind must master the ability to duck and punch reflexively while observing, reviewing, sorting, and sending signals to many different muscles simultaneously in fractions of seconds under intense pressure of sustaining serious injury or even deadly injury. Many boxers are not well educated, but all of them are very intelligent in the athletic kinetic sense. Most boxers, like many other highly skilled trained professionals, are lousy businessmen. They think in terms of purses only. They have no idea how much income they generate for promoters. Most promoters, on the other hand, understandably keep fighters and their managers in the dark. A boxer's purse is only a small fraction of the gross earnings of a world-class promotion. Boxers make purses or wages. Promoters make fortunes. Barry was just then on the verge of attaining world-class market value. He was also world-class angry and betrayed. His frugal shopkeeper's mentality was offended by the gnawing thought that maybe he was missing out on a large piece of his earnings pie that he never knew existed. This was the guy of whom it said he still got his first communion money. Barney's hypocrisy was just salt in the wound. In the months that followed, the rift between Barney and Barry grew wide, deep, and very public. The Irish press and British tabloids feasted on the conflict with relish. This was a soap opera, a father-son conflict with Shakespearean overtones. Whatever happened to "Thank You, Mr. Eastwood"? As usual, the press missed the main points and important details. The stories focused on name-calling and finger-pointing. The sordid truth never emerged. Barry, yes, was a celebrity, but Barney had connections. Barney was treated more favorably by his reporter pals. It was he who always wined and dined the Fourth Estate, not Barry. The parties were suing each other, and the litigation only added fuel to the fire. Barry sued Barney for fraud for money that was owed, while Barney countered that Barry was a slanderous ingrate who would pay dearly under British law when he lost the case. The trial was scheduled to be heard in High Court, Belfast, in April 1987. Come back next week for the continuation of Fighting Irish Part 2 and learn more about this conflict. Thanks for listening. Come back next week for another episode of Uncommon Law, lessons they don't teach in law school. I'm Judge Rudy Greco. Court is adjourned.